Welcome to Elevate Your Ride, the podcast dedicated to elevating your performance in the saddle. I'm Ellie, your personal trainer.
And I'm Lauren, your mindset coach. On today's episode, in honor of Father's Day, we have with us my dad, Jeff Crivelli. Hey, Dad.
Hi, Lauren. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I want to kind of go through your history with showing horses and then kind of what it was like to transition into being a horse show dad. Because in my unbiased opinion, you're the best horse show dad I could have ever had.
Well, I appreciate that. We tried hard, that's for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of really good memories. So let's start first with the fact that you were a big time cow horse guy back in the day. Can you tell us some of your favorite highlights from those years?
Well, we had a great time showing cow horses with Benny Gatrone, probably one of the greatest cow horse trainers there was ever. And Benny found us some of the greatest horses. We had Mr. Okey Pokey, George, as we called him, just was spectacular for that day. I remember when Bobby Ingersoll and I were walking around in Idaho at Turdy, and we were talking about horses, and he gave me the best compliment I think I've ever had. He said that I was blessed that George was probably the greatest Okie Leo that ever drew breath that got showed.
That's really cool. And was he the quirky one on the ground?
Yes.
Tell us some of those stories.
Well, George got his name when we went to pick him up from Tony Amaral, where we drove in to try him, and going down testing him out, going down the fence and go to turn the cow, and he turned back so hard and I went flying off on the ground. Little Tony Amaral come running up on his pony and laughing on his ass off, and got back on, did it again, down the fence, turned left, hit the ground. Tony starts laughing. Do it again, turn left, fell off. Tony comes over there and said, "You got to learn to ride, man." I said, "Well, I want this horse." And that's how we got George. So we went to put him in the trailer, and my mom was there with me, and we had a Miley Q horse inline, the thing to have back in the day. And she reached in the front to tie him to the hook in the front, and he bit her. And my mom yells back at him and slaps him. And she goes, "We're going to call this guy George, because every George I've ever known's been an asshole."
Oh my gosh, that's great. But then he turned out to be a great pain in the butt.
Yes, he had the most awesome personality of just about any horse I've ever had. Had the most heart of any horse I ever had. Every trip was 100%. He never let up. And that's what made him great.
And one thing that we always talk about on this podcast is a lot of like mindset. And so let's go back to the time when you got thrown off time after time, and that kid told you, you need to learn how to ride. And you had the personality, willpower, tenacity to say, I want this horse and I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah. Is that something that you feel like you always had? Did you have to learn that? Where did that come from?
Oh, I probably always had that. Growing up, I started out with a Palomino horse that threw me off every day. And I just figured I better learn to ride. And the tougher they are, the faster I'll learn.
Yeah. I will say, though, you kind of hold that Palomino against me because I've got little pal and you didn't want me to buy him because he was a Palomino.
I do have issues with Palominos.
Hey, but he's turned out real good.
Yes, Pal is the exception to the rule.
Oh, man. Okay, so tell us about maybe one of your first big runs on George when you finally overcame it. Were able to stay on. That's a big thing.
Yeah. And Benny took him home and started training him because he was a futurity, snaffle bit futurity washout. He wasn't ready to go, and that's how we ended up with him. And so we took him back to Benny's and started getting him ready for me. And I don't know, we just, you have the first few trips that weren't so good. And then once it clicked, it was Katie bar the door.
Yeah. You guys were unstoppable.
He was hard to beat. Then we had another horse that came along that we found over in Guadalupe off a cattle ranch over there. We called him Far Western. He was unregistered quarter horse, looked more like a Clydesdale than a quarter horse. He was huge, but he had a fantastic stop and could work a cow almost as good as George. And it was really fun because I could haul both of them down the road. And, we more than one time we were first and second in the class. Made it really fun.
Absolutely. And you made a lot of friends during that time too, right?
Yes. Oh, we had a great time. The youth at that time, well, Tim Kimura, Tokyo Tex, as we used to call him, and Charlie Forney, and Kenny Pugh. Kenny's training cutting horse now. There was a group of us, probably 8 or 10, that showed together in the cowhorse deal. And whether we were showing together or afterwards, we would have fun. It used to be a big show in Santa Rosa. They don't have that anymore. But we all got lined up, and I'd say there was probably 25 of us in the class, cowhorse. And we always did something fun out in the arena while we were waiting for the awards. In that particular show, for whatever reason, they were taking forever to announce the awards. So Timmy and Charlie and I, and we all got the idea. Somebody had seen a rodeo video or something of horses going around in a circle. So half of us turned around, and all of a sudden, while we're waiting for awards, we got this pinwheel going on in the middle of the arena.
Like a drill team?
Like a drill team, yes. And so 10, 12 horses, going around on each end, opposite of each other, going around in circles. We did that. And everybody, the trainers were screaming at us, "What are you doing?" But we had a great time. But we did stuff like that in the arena. We all helped each other. Timmy was known for being off course. He couldn't remember which way to turn to save his life. And we'd get on the end of the arena, and he'd run down and stop, and you could see it in his eyes that he didn't know. And so the kids would yell, "Left." And then to get to the other end, "Right," which is kind of interesting for a guy who designs trail courses that'll make you get nauseous going through them nowadays. Maybe it's payback, I guess.
Yeah, for all the glory days. But no, that's really awesome.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pin anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable in reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencrivelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
So then once you graduated from high school, you took a little bit of break and went to college, right?
Yeah, went to Cal Poly in San Luis, kind of backed off showing the horses just because it got out of the 14 to 18 back in that day was the age group for the ring cow horse. And quarter horse wasn't a big thing when I showed, like it is today. CRCHA, California Ring Cow Horse Association, which is now the NRCHA. So it was 14 to 18. So once I graduated out of that, I had to go to the non-pro. And I showed a little bit of non-pro stuff, probably my freshman year in college, and then started petering out. George was getting old, Con was getting old, and I had to concentrate on school and getting ready for life.
And was it hard to take a step back from the horses?
Oh, it's terrible. Horses are a drug.
I know they're so addicting, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And not going that, and not going and seeing my friends. After we all graduated out of the 14 to 18, even the amateur, we probably lost 50% of the people at least that were showing as youth. And then each year, I think I showed a little bit my sophomore year. I can't remember. Each year there was fewer and fewer of us in the non-pro that had shown together. So
Yeah, because just life kind of takes its course, and
Exactly.
finances and
lot of-
relationships, commitment.
Yep. A lot of kids went out of state to go to school, and education, like you said, is expensive, and horses are expensive. So one's got to go.
So then after college, you started your own business and you started working, and then you met my lovely mother. And when you guys had kids, did you have dreams when we were first born that we were going to be little cowboy and cowgirl?
Yeah, I kind of figured it would happen sooner or later. It's in our DNA. I'd shown so much, and your mom had shown some, and I just figured that when time came, we'd throw you in the pool, and if you swam, it was great, and if you didn't, that was great too.
Yeah.
So
We talked a little bit about how we got the first horse, Mr. Whisper Wizard, off the feed store wall in Mother's Day. Let's get your perspective on that, how that went down.
yeah, that was interesting. Whisper he was a great starter horse. He probably was one of the best starter horses I've seen. He was very kind, easygoing with you guys. I remember at the Saddle Club, you were showing him going around the arena, and it was in the spring, and there was some weeds growing through the fence, and he walked by and grabbed the weed and pulled it out, was going around the arena carrying an entire stem and a root. You walked up to the judge and asked him if he could take that out for you.
I do remember that. And he was very polite. And he said, yes, I would love to take this out and then let me go back to finish the clap.
Yes, he did. So, but that was Whisper. He was just a cool guy,
Yeah.
you know, and he did his thing, and he served his purpose very well. I wish everyone had a great starter horse like that. I think we would have a lot more people that stay with the horse industry by having starter horses like that.
Because he was kind and he was honest. And I felt like no matter what we asked him to do, he just said, okay, yeah, let's do that.
Exactly.
And he went on, and now he's a therapy horse at the little place called Horse and Reader, where they bring kids in, they work on their academics, and then as the reward and kind of incentive is they get to work with the horses. And I think that says a lot about his just temperament and personality too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was just a backyard horse. It wasn't anything special bred. He was just Mr. Whisper Wizard.
Yeah, he was really great. We had a lot of good times with him. And then we moved up and we started showing in the breed shows once we got out of the walk trot. How was that transition for you? Did the breed shows at that time remind you of the open shows back when you were a kid?
Yeah. As you moved up, we got closer to where we were when I showed. Obviously, better competition, better trainers, better equipment, better horses. So we were working our way that way. But you have to, I'm a firm believer that part of what made you and your brother the great hands and the great showman that you are was the fact that we did the steps, that we started out with the Whisper and then went to the Chansey and the Jenny. And then the other horses came along, were better, but required more skill. But you, by doing it step by step, you were able to get that skill and move up rather than just starting on the high end horse that you didn't know how it got there or what it took to keep it there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a big thing that I appreciate with the way that we did the horses and the way that you guys had us kind of be so hands-on, and that we did have to learn and understand just from the basic care of the horse, not just the training part, but we cleaned the stalls, we hauled the horses to the shows, we blanketed them at night, we made sure that we knew how much they drank every single day. And I think that that's a big part that's missing, nowadays at the high level. And you instilled that in us from a very young age. Was that intentional or was that just kind of circumstantial? What do you think?
Well, that's the way I learned. We kept all my horses until probably George was the first horse that we actually ever sent to a trainer full time. And even once he got up and going, we kept him at home. We always kept our horses at home, and we would haul them to whoever was helping us at the time and get help. And it taught me the responsibility of everything in life. Like you said, you got to learn about their water. You got to learn did they drink, did they eat, clean their stall, let them out. It doesn't matter if you got something else to do. That horse has to come first.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopindowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Was there things that you learned showing as a youth that you felt directly correlated to running your own business?
Yeah, I think so. Stick with it. There's going to be good days and bad days. We always used to say, better to have a bad day at home and a great day at the show, because if you had a terrible lesson just before you went, it usually meant that you were going to have a great show. And that's kind of the way it's gone with life. You have the downs and then things pop back up and get better.
Yeah, and when you have the downs, that's when you can learn. Right?
Exactly.
Because if you have a lesson and everything is all hunky-dory, you're not going to challenge yourself. You're not going to figure out where a hole is, and you're not going to figure out how to overcome it.
Exactly.
So you have to have a bad day.
You don't learn as much from winning as you do from losing.
Even though we don't like losing.
That's right. Nobody likes to lose.
Right.
And I'm the biggest fan of not losing. But but you get so much more education each time. And you say, what can I do better? What wasn't I great on?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just aren't the flavor of the day.
Right.
Every judge has their particular thing that they like. Maybe they don't like gray hats. Maybe they don't like brown horses
Palomino horse.
or Palomino horses, whatever. And there's nothing you can do. But maybe it's that, when you jogged in there, you were leaning to the right. Or like one time when you went around a little show up in Stockton, your saddle was off to the right, and that's Dad's fault. I saddled the horse, and I guess I didn't center it up. And the judge said afterwards, well, if your dad had saddled your horse straight, you would have won.
Well, but then it taught me responsibility to double check and make sure that the saddle was on straight, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. But yeah, so a lot of the horse showing too, I mean, you had to drive us everywhere and you drive truck for a living. And so you were more than happy still to load up and go drive us all the way to Arizona, to New Mexico, to Nevada, to Oklahoma. Like you did it with a smile on your face, even though you had to be in a truck 18 hours a day every day prior to that. How did you do that?
Well, I enjoy it. I enjoy being together as a family. We had such great times traveling. Sometimes everybody was cranky and, sometimes I was cranky, but the majority of the time we had a good time. We laughed and told stories and jokes and did math equations and,
That was my favorite.
just had a great time. It was a lot of miles, but we were able to do it as a family and put time together as a family.
Yeah, and I remember too, you were always kind of the chauffeur for us with our friend because we had a big freight liner and so we would pile everybody in and you were always so nice and just made everybody laugh and you'd drive us to the movies, you'd drive us to the beach, you'd drive us to whatever kind of local attraction there was. And man, seems like sometimes we'd pile 8, 10, 12 kids in the back of that thing and say, let's go.
Yeah, I can remember having you guys stacked 4 across, double in the back seat, and a couple extra in the front. I think we had 12 or 13 in that truck at one time. More than one time going to, like I said, the movies or going over to the Dog Beach and Del Mar or driving out downtown and over to, was that Hell's Canyon, Hellgate
Oh, yeah.
in Oregon for that boat ride. I mean, but that was the fun part about it. You guys had a group of kids very much like the group of kids that I grew up showing with. A lot of friends. You guys did a lot of things together. Boys and girls, didn't matter. People that showed all-around horses, people that showed cow horses. Everybody was together, and our group was the same way. And we had a great time growing up. That was probably the best time of my life for 4 or 5 years growing up with those people. And then back in those days, we didn't have cell phones. So, we got to save up all the stories. We didn't just text it to them.
Yeah, so then when you would get to the horse shows, that was your time to share, like, oh man, you won't believe what happened here. And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, I appreciated that. And I remember too when we were at that Oregon horse show, remember we had that raft and you would blow it up and then you'd put duct tape on all the holes for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Good thing we had the toolbox and duct tape and the raft. And then, it was down in Phoenix at Sun Circuit when you guys rolled the golf cart. There's like 5 or 6 of you trying to jump a golf cart.
The speed bump was only about a foot high, but when you add speed and turning, it doesn't go so well. So I don't recommend that for anyone.
But that was fun. And it didn't hurt any. Nobody got hurt.
Right.
And the golf cart was fine. A couple scratches here and there. It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the one really nice thing though, is I knew that when we were at these horse shows, if anything ever went wrong, like I'd say, oh, my dad can fix it. He can go to Dad, he'll fix it. Might take some courage to tell him what we did, but he can fix. Yeah, and so that was nice. And I appreciate it too, because you're an incredibly competitive person. And I feel like that's where I get a lot of my drive from, is mirroring you and kind of seeing what you've accomplished and wanting to be like that. But yet at the same time, you're also the person who's at the back gate telling me, just smile, have fun.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, I thought that was like, oh man, how can you just tell me to have fun when we're out here to try to win? But as I've gotten older, I can appreciate it more.
Well, I learned that from Benny. He always told me, he says, if you ain't having fun out here, no use being out here to do it. You're going to get a lot more raw shits than you are attaboys.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me, I remember talking to Benny one time after we had taken a lesson. You and your brother had been over there, and Benny did tell me, he said, those two kids are just unbelievable. He said, Garrett makes a horse better by swinging across it, but he didn't have the drive. He said, Lauren will be a world champion because she wants it.
Yeah, I remember him saying something along those lines, and when I finally did it, I did think of him. I was like, "Okay, Benny, you
We
were
got
you
it.
were right. We did it. Might have taken a long time, but
He knew.
we
He
did
could
it."
tell. But like he always said, if you're not having fun, there's no use doing it. I always tell you, it's like I tell you today, when you're showing horses and I'm at home and I've texted you, it's the last words, the last sentence is always just smile and breathe.
Yeah, I do really appreciate that. So every day, Dad knows what classes I'm gonna show in, and he'll send me a text that says it's showmanship day, something cute about showmanship, and then at the end, smile and breathe, and then or it's equitation day, and those they always make me smile, and it really helps me to take a deep breath and kind of center myself and remind myself, where we came from and why we're here, right? It
Yep.
all started with the love of Mr. Whisper Wizard and having a good time and just wanting to pet a horse and brush a horse and ride a horse. And even though we've elevated it to a completely different level at this point, still the basics are there. We're doing it because we love the horses and we love what we can accomplish together. And I don't know, I just really appreciate when you send me those texts because it reminds me of that. So thank you.
You're welcome. No, I enjoy it. I wished I could be there like we used to be.
I
Yeah.
know.
Miles apart now.
I know, that's the problem, showing out in Oklahoma on a regular basis makes it a little more difficult than we were in California and just a few hours away,
That's
but
it.
but you make it work. You were nice and drove me out to Arizona, flew from California to Oklahoma, drove me to Arizona, then flew back to California, then flew back to Arizona, and drove me back to Oklahoma, and flew back to California.
Well, it's a long drive, and I don't want you to have to do it by yourself, and I enjoy it. That's 18 hours of driving that we are together. Just you and I get to talk and visit and catch up on things that we don't get to do now that you're moved away.
Yeah, exactly, and we get to just have fun chats and just, yeah, connect and time together you can't replace.
Yep.
So, I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it. I do it every chance I can.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t-shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
So do you have any advice for fellow horse show dads out there?
Yeah, just close your eyes on the pocketbook and just know that every day that you're at a horse show is the best day you're going to have until the next day you're at a horse show.
Yeah. No, I really appreciated all the things that we've been able to do together and the memories, and it's been really fun to do this episode and kind of take a walk down memory lane and remember all the good times and think about all the great times we still have ahead of us.
That's it. I look forward to it. You got Pal and Bus Stop and we're going to be winners.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time.
That's it.
You're going to be there and getting those text messages, and then the ones where you can be at, we're going to have you there and hopefully get you in a win picture.
There you go. Attaboy, girl.
All right. Love you, Dad.
Love you too, Lauren.
Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. Find us on Instagram and Facebook, all linked in the podcast notes. We'll see you next time. The information provided by Elevate Your Ride is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical or professional advice. While we discuss health and fitness topics related to equestrians, the content provided through this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. The views expressed by the host and guests on Elevate Your Ride are their own and should not be taken as professional guidance. We strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, but we cannot guarantee that the information will be applicable to every individual listener or that it reflects the most current research or guidelines. Before making any changes to your health and fitness routine, we strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional who can provide personalized advice based on your individual needs and circumstances. Elevate Your Ride and its creators will not be liable for any direct, indirect, consequential, special, exemplary, or other damages arising from the use of information on this podcast. Thank you for listening to Elevate Your Ride. We are committed to providing high quality content and appreciate your trust in us as a source of information for your health and fitness journey.